Hello ladies and welcome back to another video. It's your boy Perm, and today I thought I'd be talking about a theory that was shared on the internet a couple of months ago by a guy called Orpheus. I think this was originally shared on a Reddit post, but I don't really remember. I just have the external link bookmarked, and I will be sure to leave the theory link in the description for those who may want to read it properly. I'm just going to be summarizing this theory, how I interpret it, and at the end of the video I will be giving my personal thoughts about it. The theory in question is about what Dabi's quirk may actually be, because we don't know, we only know vaguely what it may be, but it hasn't been named or explained properly at this time in the manga. There may be spoilers in this video, by the way. I can't promise that there won't be, so if you're an anime only and do not wish to be spoiled, it could be a good idea not to watch this video, unless you're not too fussed about learning about Dabi's quirk, even if it's just vaguely. When you look at Dabi's name, it becomes very clear what his quirk may actually be. Dabi is a form of cremation ritual in Korean Buddhism. This alone is a big hint, and a lot of characters in My Hero Academia actually possess quirks that are in some way hinted by their names. A few examples would be Tetsu from Class 1B, Bakugo from Class 1A, among others. So why wouldn't Dabi be in that category as well, right? Some people may of course be wondering, how would cremation be a quirk? It's simply burning down bodies, right? Well, it's not really that simple. Cremation is actually the process of burning down bodies down to its most basic components. The process is more specifically the combustion, vaporization, and oxidation of dead bodies down to basic elements such as gases, ashes, and mineral fragments. It's the process we need to understand, not necessarily the burning of bodies. Keep this in mind. So the three things to know: combustion, vaporization, and oxidation. The patches on his skin is another clue as to why it would be cremation. The theory mentions something very interesting, which is that purple skin is a result of cyanosis. Cyanosis is simply put the lack of oxygen in the bloodstream. In fact, the theory pretty much states that exactly. These patches are most likely the drawback of his quirk, at least one of them, because let's not forget another thing about Horikoshi's writing. Every quirk has a drawback, something bad about the quirk. They're never perfect. So the more he uses his quirk, potentially draining his bloodstream of oxygen, the skin gradually dries up and he ends up looking the way he does. Now we're getting to the good part, everyone. The way Dabi actually moves when using his flames, which is most likely his only way of actually attacking, becomes a curious topic. When he is seen shooting flames out of his hand, there are some details that really are important, or at least potentially are, if we assume that this theory is in fact correct. Going back a little about his patches on the skin, he may be able to manipulate oxygen in his blood, potentially moving it, causing part of his body to dry. But at the same time, it gives the oxygen needed to create flames. The process of creating fire is a simple one. You need oxygen and some form of fuel. Let's assume he uses his own body as fuel. That would explain why Dabi pulled back when he attacked Aizawa. He simply doesn't want to burn himself because he's not immune to his own quirk. So he manipulates the functions of cremation through his own body, oxidation obviously being the ability to manipulate where the oxygen goes at the cost of his skin drying up, combusting by actually being able to use his own self as fuel. The theory isn't flawless, by the way. I just want to give that short input because I don't think it really has an explanation for the vaporization part yet. But then again, Dabi hasn't had all that much screen time, so it's not really a surprise that some parts are left in the dark at this time. So there is one part in this theory which does suggest that he can cremate himself when he burns away, which is possible, but at the same time he is a clone at the time of doing this, so there was some discussion going around that that specific part is not actually his quirk at all. But bear in mind, it could still be the case, because again, we don't really know all we need to know about his quirks. It could have that power as well. Dabi's fire is a dark tinted one, which is interesting, and while I talked about it briefly earlier, that his fire may simply be him manipulating the elements of cremation, it is entirely possible that it's a sub-quirk, much like how Todoroki has both fire and ice even though it's just still one quirk, and how Tokoyami has a bird head even though his quirk is actually dark shadow and not the bird part. So it wouldn't exactly be the first time having more sides to a quirk has happened, so the flames could simply fall under that. Okay, that pretty much summarizes the theory. So now I thought I'd give some of my thoughts on this, because I really do like the theory, especially since the name literally means cremation as well. It just feels as if it's too good to be a coincidence. I mean, like I said, it's a very popular thing in this series that their names and their powers are connected. Not every single character fall under this connection, but a lot of them certainly do, and for that reason I'm genuinely going to be surprised if cremation is not his quirk. At least it being named cremation, it doesn't mean he has to be able to cremate himself. I mean, if he can use these 3 functions that cremation is, then that would still be pretty cool in all honesty. So I want to kind of go into how he pulls back when using his quirk, because the theory suggests that it's to avoid getting burnt, which is very possible. I really do like that idea a lot, but the way I originally did interpret that was him taking some heavy recoil. So I wonder if there's a huge cost beyond just drying his skin when using heavy impacts like that, because he certainly did release a lot of fire at that given time, and he almost looked like, as he was stunned briefly, kinda as if he stressed his body so intensely that it couldn't move for a short period of time. That would really add to a drawback function as well, which means he can't just, you know, keep shooting out major firepower without leaving any sort of openings. Because while I do believe what Orpheus is saying about his skin, it wouldn't really be enough as a drawback, I think. A quirk like Dabi's needs to have more of a physical limiter too. The skin drying up could play a part in him cremating himself. If we can assume he can do that, then perhaps the regeneration process also used these 3 functions of cremations to revive him, I guess you could say. Kinda like a phoenix rising from the ashes, you know. Not too sure about that one, to be honest, but I'm just sort of throwing out ideas right now. Anyway, I think I'm going to round it off there. I'd love to hear what you guys think about Orpheus's theory on Dabi's quirk. Do you think it could be cremation, or do you think it's complete bullshit? Let me know down below in the comments. And as always, if you did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more My Hero Academia content. This has been your favorite host Perm, and I'll see you soon.